Let's just start with an update of the last month. How's it been? We're here you're in your new home, but what's it been like relocating?
Yeah, it's so yeah, unfortunately it seems like I've kind of dropped off the map for everybody, and outside of some little informational videos I've been making and trying to put out. And honestly, this experience has been just amazing. I know that a lot of people think that the entire thing got canceled, and there's a whole lot of drama surrounding that, and I just backed completely out. The fact is I'm trying to move an entire farm, and I've got a herd of alpaca and a small herd of goats and cows, and we actually not just moving our personal items and the animals, but we actually are tearing down the farmhouse, tore down all the outbuildings, tore apart all the solar, literally taking everything off the land except for the water system I traded for a storage container. But this is just a fairly monumental task, and the gentlemen that showed up and ladies that have shown up, Kristen and Cheryl, are obviously not gentlemen, but the gentlemen would not be working the way they did without that amazing food that they're making, and just everybody's just eating great. And wow, I was a bit apprehensive. Um, Outside of my videos, that's usually basically my interactions with the world is videos. I'm a very isolated private person, so having this many people come up on my land, I mean, if you the new place, if anybody that's come up here, and I'm sure you'll see and hear from other people, uh, just the half hour that it takes to get the 2 miles from where you leave the highway to my house, because the road is so ridiculous. You've got to mean it to before you're coming around here. And the people that showed up that are just, it's been amazing. Normally nobody would kind of, these type of areas are meant to keep people away. And the everybody that's come here, again, I was just real apprehensive, and it's just been one of the most beautiful experiences. Um, we've gotten a monumental task in. Yesterday was 3 weeks from the time that we started, and we've got the main herd of alpacas and goats moved. We've got all the buildings on the other property torn down except for two. All the personal items moved. A whole bunch of fence and building boards moved. Just amazing. And not only that, but we've got Snake Jones. Him and I actually haven't been spending really hardly any time together, because he has actually taken charge of this particular farm, and I've been going back and forth and doing the tear down and bringing things, and he's taking care of a lot of the work around here and running things, and then my wife is taking care of putting all the things that I'm bringing away. So it's been a fairly monumental task, and I don't think that it could have been done any better. Not to mention that it's been well over 100 degrees in Reading almost the entire time, and everything around us has been on fire, and we're working through just smoke that makes a bar room look light. And that everybody's doing that with just having a good time. They're all learning about the more off-grid pace, where you learn it's a lot of work, but it's not work like where you go to a 9 to 5 and I'm here these 8 hours and I punch in and I work from here to now. It's more of a organic, you go with the flow. It gets too hot in the middle of the day, you just quit working. Literally everything on the farm starts laying down and just stops moving and starts just taking a break, and you just start living like that, living like the rest of the world, not living in these unnatural conditions where right now we wouldn't be out working. We're just kind of sitting around hanging out because it's dark out. We got a couple lanterns going here. We're all hanging out in the porch area, chilling out. You're not going to be out where in normal civilization you can go 24/7 because they provided those conditions that are against nature. And here you fully fall back into it. and that everybody's made that adjustment so well, and everybody's been putting in no complaints about work. Just an amazing crew. I honestly can't possibly imagine this experience having gone any better.
So what's it been like on your relationship and the kind of the division of labor and being apart during this time?
This last week was the longest we've ever been apart.
In our entire relationship.
Yeah.
Since we started dating.
I did not like that. Not at all. But I don't think it was hard on our relationship. It was just hard being apart. I think it was good for me to be here. I mean, it's not like I was alone. I had Snake and I had Cheryl and we had Ellis, and we were all okay. There was nothing wrong, but it was good for me to have that experience of being here more on my own, and know that I could do it without you. Running the generator, running the water pumps, making sure that we had what we needed to get through the day, and not needing to have your direction. And that felt good. So
I got home to all the animals still here, and that's a good day.
Yeah. Yeah, the animals were all here. I hope it felt good to walk into a home and not just a house full of boxes. And
oh, it was wonderful, and I agree. I don't think it strained our relationship outside of, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I know that by the time I was getting back, I was pretty sorely missing my wife, and it struck me while I was gone that I'd never been away from her that long. And it's not that we're all, together all the time, but a lot of it. And, as opposed to most relationships where you might spend 2 hours an evening together and then maybe sleep next to each other, because we're in and out all day. We're interacting fairly often throughout the day. It was pretty hard. But then it was awful sweet coming home, and like you said, the ladies had, the guys had hauled up so much stuff, and the ladies had unpacked stuff, and the water was running, and that was just amazing. And my wife was so gorgeous, and it was amazing. I couldn't be happier with this transition.
And it's been fun for me too on this end, because I had no idea really what to expect. And looking back, if it hadn't been for Cheryl, I don't know how I actually thought that I was going to cook all day and unpack anything. And Cheryl came in and she has just run that kitchen. And if she needs help, she asks for help, and I come in and I do what needs to be done. But I haven't had to worry about how to feed a fluctuating number of people that are in and out. She's got it. She's got it from sun up to sundown, and she's spoiling people rotten. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a much more short-tempered cook. What I make, and if you don't like it, don't eat. I try really hard to make really good food, but I'm not short-order cooking for people. And not that Cheryl is either, but she certainly goes out of her way to account for everybody's tastes and make sure everybody gets represented. And it's been, I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't realize how much of a human dynamics experiment this would be. I thought it was just going to be somehow magically all about off-gridding and homesteading and getting that really raw experience, understanding that things aren't going to be perfect, that things are going to go wrong, but you have the ability to figure out solutions, and you also have the ability to do with less than you think you can. But I really, really feel a little daft that I did not take into account how much that human factor was going to play in. And it's been part of the best magic of this whole thing is the people. I think I arrogantly thought I was here to teach everybody, and it's actually everybody else teaching me. I have learned so much from so many people, and it has been really heartening for me to see so many people come out of the woodwork who are giving of their time and their labor and their heart with joy.
Yeah.
There's nobody who's bitching at the end of the day, oh, I had to work too hard, or oh, I have a blister. People are just doing what they naturally do well and working together and having great times and great conversations with people, and I don't know, it's been magic. It's just really, there's no hierarchy or structure really where, you know, we have set plans as to who's doing what and what's going to happen on what day, because that doesn't work that way out here. If you think that you're going to do fence all day tomorrow, I guarantee you something's going to happen that's going to get in the way of doing fencing all day tomorrow. It's just the way it works. You've got to roll with the punches. But everybody here has been able to roll with the punches and has been willing to roll with the punches, and that's so huge. This is a humbling experience, and I'm definitely learning I'm not in as good a shape as I thought I was, trekking up and down these hills all the time, carrying water, and you know, it's, yeah, building my muscles back up after not massaging for a few months.
Buckets of water this big.
Yeah, exactly. Dumping, you know, doing laundry in buckets on the deck the other day and drying them over chairs and whatever we could do. You know, you just, everybody has pitched in. Everybody's been willing to challenge their comfort zones. Everybody has just totally stepped up, and I could never have expected this would go like this. This is...
You showed me a beautiful set of runes the other night, and kind of talking me through the 3 levels. How does that tie in with this experience of the move and the transition for you?
So when you look at the runes, there's 3 Ets. And there's the Odin, the Vili, and the Ve. And the Odin's going to be your etheric Et. And the Ve Et is going to be your ego Et. Now your Vili Et is your root. That's your start. And that's what this entire thing was supposed to be about, was sharing this root. And the last time that I did this and built my own farm, I didn't have a standing house, but I was by myself, and it was just an entirely different experience. This time with everybody here, the way it's all coming together, when you start out with the runes, the first thing that you start out with is Fehu. And Fehu is things of value. So typically when a young man's starting out in life, you start out with a little bit of things that your parents gave you that have some value. They're going to be useful to you. Your dad gave you a set of tools, maybe a couple cows, something like that. And that's kind of where we started out. I took everything from the last farm, and we're starting out again at that new root Et. And so the first thing you do is you gather up that, and you get yourself a farm. And the next Et, our next rune, is Urus, which as soon as we got to this farm, it's just amazing. We're vegetarians, and you know, we do eat symbiotically, so we eat cheese and milk and eggs, things like that. But this is a symbiotic relationship that we have with our animals. But we come out here, and Urus is something that you haven't created, that symbiotic bond. Where, like my chickens that I'm going around picking up eggs that are laying around, I've been feeding those chickens and making sure the foxes don't eat them and things like that. Where when we moved here, the entire land was full of elderberries and blackberries and apples. We just had some delicious apple pie that Cheryl and Christie made tonight. And Snake had went and picked those apples. That is Urus. We did not work for that food. That was just wild here. And so we started making use of that and making use of the land and living with the land. And then the next thing that you do is you start creating family. And all these people here have kind of bonded. And we already have our family, and our family's expanding. And then you start creating the thorn, which is your protection. And you start setting up defenses, because now that you've done all this, you have something valuable. Like we've got, compared to when we first moved up here, and this was a house that had been abandoned for over a decade. Now we've got running water, and things are fixed up and livable and usable. And we've got power up here and all these other things, and the land's cleared away. One of the horrible things that I'd like to speak about a little bit is when we got up here, is that Golveg, which isn't in the runes, has reached out and snaked its fingers all over the land up here. And the more that we start clearing away and finding, If this video was during the day, we'd take you down and show you some spots where these people with Golveg were talking about money rather than animals, land, things that you use and live with. This is something that you can hoard, and these people took this land, and that's why they call this particular mountain that we live on Murder Mountain. And all these people were coming to this land and trying to extract just money out of it. They weren't trying to live in symbiosis with the land. They weren't trying to make the land better. They weren't trying to, like where I was just talking about with Urus, where you're going around and starting to live symbiotically with the land and cultivate the things that you're going to use and things like that. They just came in, destroyed everything, and when they were leaving, they didn't try and pick up after themselves, laying down everywhere on the land. There's plastic, pipes, trash all over the place. They just push it off the edge into cliffs, and all this trash is just damaging the land, and with no care for the land whatsoever. But they extracted their money. They did their nice big fat grows, and they rolled out of here. And the whole thing is nobody's coming to your house to murder you because you have some cows and they want to come take your cows and do all the work on your cows. That, like, nobody wants to come take away your farm. Like, but what they will come try and steal is your hoard. And these people were living for Golveg, and this mountain all of a sudden turned into Murder Mountain. And it's just amazing and beautiful to me that so many people have come together, and all these other opportunities are starting to open up in front of us, where maybe some of the members that are here, there's other plots of land connected to this land that we're talking about maybe moving and taking over and starting to actually heal the mountain and starting to live with the mountain again and pushing out that element that's just trying to extract what they can so they can get as much money as they can and then run away. And this is all part of creating a home. And we're trying to live inside the runes where there's a natural symbiosis. And the only that you experience joy, because joy is the very last rune on the Vili Et. And it's only after you've done that, after we've all went out and worked all day and did all these things and accomplished great things every day, and then came back and ate amazing food. And that means that the women have accomplished something great also. Everybody's feeling accomplished. They're like, look at everybody sitting back just happy. And then Badger and Michael bust out the banjo and the guitar, and then we're lists up here and everybody's just kind of sitting around smoking a cigar or whatever, having a drink and listening to some music, and we are all just laughing and truly joyful, because that is the way it works. When you're doing things inside that Vili Et, when you're building that home, building that life, that root, that's where you truly experience joy. It's the only place in the runes that you experience it.
That has been really surprising to me. Like I said, I've been so pleasantly surprised by the work ethic of everybody that has come up here, because most of my experience in life has not been with people who have much, if any, work ethic. And to have perfect strangers come up here and find value in contributing and genuinely participating with an open heart and an open mind. People made great treks to be here, and they made great sacrifices, and it shows. And each person is going to get out of this what they choose. And I think at the end of the day, I have not seen anyone here choose to have a bad day. We can all have bad circumstances, but I haven't seen anybody choose to sulk and wallow, and everybody has been joyful. We sit here in awe at the stars and whatever else it is that's floating by. The fellowship, it's been such a great learning experience for me. I cannot emphasize that enough. And it was a really, Snake's here, I'm going to talk about him, a really awesome experience for me to have a working relationship with a man who I was literally able to put trust of my life into and know that I was completely safe and that he was running the show, that he knew what was going on. That level of faith in somebody is not something I've encountered with anybody but Ben. And I'm really glad that you knew that you could put that trust in Snake. And I'm so grateful that you've been here and that you have been everything that you have been. You have certainly made my job a lot easier, so much easier, and I thank you. Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be doing this at this time, knowing the world off this mountain right now? Like, what does it mean to be embarking on this journey at this moment?
It's perfect timing in my opinion, and I'm going to talk about a couple of little trivial things first before I kind of really hit that one on the head. But the first few days that we were here at this property, we all noticed that there was something just totally more peaceful about each one of us. Anxiety was gone. There was just such a level of comfort here I couldn't explain. And a few days later, we went into town for the first time and got reception, and you hit this certain spot on the road and it like ding, and like 500 notifications popped up and my anxiety level shot through the roof. And it was like, oh my God, I have to get back to all these people and I have to read this and I only have so much time. And instantly I was transformed back into that world where time is measured and expectations are had of what you should be responding to and how quickly, and having a couple family situations come up where emergencies happen and we don't necessarily know right away. And the longer we're here, the longer we notice that not having access to cell phones every day is that thing that made it feel peaceful here. It was not looking at a screen. It was not holding that little vibrating piece of EMF. It was just sitting here and being in tune with nature and looking out for the animals, watching the stars, looking out for each other, learning new personalities, seeing everybody has a different eye for what needs to be done. And I think overall, I would say the longer I'm here, the harder it is to go back. And the more hostile it is when I drive over the mountain. I never thought I would be a hermit, ever, ever. I have always been a very big extrovert who needed a little introvert time afterwards, but I am loving the isolation, and I'm not alone, and that will change when people go home. But I don't feel alone here. I don't feel isolated. I feel so enriched. I look out and I see all this wildlife that I can't wait to like crack open my medicinal like herb books and figure out when I can harvest what and for why, and actually go out and practice the things that we didn't have over there because our wildlife on the high desert iron red clay mountain was not really friendly to yeah. Anyhow, you know, and having people here who have stuff to teach me about that because I don't know. And I will be able to have the time to do it because I'm not straddling the two worlds. I'm not trying to be here and there. And of course, the long-term goal is that those needs for trips to town become fewer and far between. The goal is to be as self-sustaining as humanly possible, as quickly as possible. And that timing seems to be so perfect. I mean, once the ball started rolling, it just never stopped rolling until we hit that pause. That pause seemed to wait forever. And I knew that that was going to build into a spring. And it sure did. Once change happened, it happened. Aaron's been here through the whole thing. He's seen, you know, the week or two of like, oh, is this ever going to move? Or are they ever going to close on this property? Where are we going? Are we going to be there in time for the people that are supposed to show up? You know, just so much limbo. And then once it was time, it hasn't stopped. It just hasn't stopped. But the pace out here, it's really hard to explain when you're used to a day that revolves around what time it is and where you're supposed to be when, and all the structure out here. You wake up in the morning and you handle the first thing that needs to be handled, and you handle the next thing that needs to be handled, and you walk around and you look for whatever you've overlooked, and you discover something you overlooked and you fix it. And then it gets hot and you eat lunch, and then you lay down or you read a book, or you do something that's just rest time. When you watch all the animals lay down, it's your time to rest too. And then you eat some supper and you get done whatever else still needs to be done, and then you enjoy time with people. And at the same time, you've been enjoying that time with people all day. I don't think any of us is ever alone. Not that anybody can't be alone, but everybody just for the most part is doing this gel thing that shocks me.
Like I said, we're already the entire idea behind my lifestyle is self-sustainability. And trying to feed the animals was one of my biggest issues. Trying with the cattle and the alpaca in that high desert, I was having to buy 4 or 5 bales of hay a week. And coming out here where it's always green and lush and the animals have plenty to eat on, and I have mountain animals, that's a huge deal. So as we're making the move toward that, at the same exact time, they've just really upped the ante for how uncomfortable it's become to go into town and interact and deal with things in town. We just recently had a similar experience to this without the starting a new farm and everything, but just an experience where we were with people in Rhinebeck, New York, and we had a ceremony and spent time with some awesome people. And on the way to New York and from New York, Christie and I also had just gotten married just before that. And so we took and double dutied that trip and went and Snake got us a room at Niagara Falls. Just amazing. We actually were probably going to skip Niagara Falls until Snake had gotten us a room, and then obviously we're going to go there. So it was wow. So many things in life you're disappointed when you see it. You're like, oh, I went through all that for this, and Niagara Falls is not one of them. That's just insane. But we went, just like I was just saying, to Niagara Falls, and Christie and I actually even went on what's called the Cave of the Winds, which is a tourist attraction in it, where you go down, and the whole way, no masks. We went to House on the Rock, no masks, went and mined Herkimer diamonds. The entire trip, no problems. Did we get kicked out of a single store that entire trip? I don't think so.
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
In
one.
Woodstock.
Oh yeah, in Woodstock itself, Christie got kicked out of a store by the people there in Woodstock. But now that we've come across, we've each been kicked out. In the last month, we've each been kicked out of a store. I'm not even sure how many times. I couldn't tell you. And they've just, like I said, really upped the ante on that, all at the same time where we're getting a much more comfortable, self-sustainable life, and that world is just really becoming much more intolerable. And it's almost like back in school where they had the shirts and the skins, only now it's the masks and the no masks. And you walk around and you see people in the stores and they're all, and it's just disturbing. And then you come out here and instead you see a bunch of people that, we all look like shit. We're covered in sweat and, just sitting there leaning up against each other, just smiling, having a good time, sharing a smoke, whatever. Nobody even worrying about that crap, and all just loving life and enjoying each other's presence, not treating other human beings like they're something to be afraid of. And so the dichotomy between the two things is so standout right now. It's just amazing. And I certainly wouldn't, this is my home, so obviously I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, but if this was not my home and we were just doing this for something else, I would still want to be here just as much.
Yeah, I definitely feel safer in the hills now. I don't know, that sounds awful, but in my farmer life, I think I didn't know I could do it on my own. I didn't know I could survive. And so you don't realize how dependent that makes you on the system and how much you have to make yourself believe because you're reliant on that. Being out here, you learn so much about yourself every day. And you really realize that there are some days that, yeah, you're doing a whole lot of work, but most days you're doing a lot less work than you would be if you were going to work for somebody else to trade your time for some money. And my quality of life is so much better. I'm not afraid of anything anymore. And I didn't realize how much I was afraid of. And they were mostly social and financial fears. Getting out here, I learned that I like me. And I prove that to myself all the time because I do things that I'm proud of. And I don't need other people now to tell me that what I do is okay or isn't okay. I don't need their approval. In fact, oftentimes I don't really want it. I'm just going to go do my thing and you can go do your thing. And let's talk about each other's things, but I'm still going to do my thing and I'm still going to be true to me. And this is the most true feeling. I learned how to be real from you. And this is the most prolonged experience where I've been able to stay in that present moment of just being who I am and not feeling the need to put on that Susie homemaker smile and try to make sure everybody else is happy, whether I am or not. It's been a really good exercise in that. There's a lot of people and a lot of things that need to be done. And when he's not here, if it has to do with the house, it falls to me. If it has to do with the farm, it's been falling to Snake. And I think I am proud of how I've been handling that. I'm really proud of how you've been handling the whole thing because your stress level has been much greater than mine. I have been here literally ignorant about what's going on in the world because we're really only going to town 3 to 4 days-ish. And, you know, it's a drive to go get to reception. And it's not a friendly on your car kind of drive. It's a potholes like VW bugs, and you're driving with one, you know, tire on the edge of the road, and you know, it's an adventure. It's not, but I feel luckier, not just because the stress level's been better, but because I've been here. Mm-hmm. I haven't left this mountain since we moved here, and I'm totally okay with that. If you want to see me, come here.
So, in closing, what's your short-term goal aside from getting that U-Haul unpacked, and what do the next few months have in hold?
So, right away we're gonna try and get the solar up and going. Not gonna try. We're gonna get the solar up and going and get a little bit more stable water system going. Not have a jumper tank is the idea, and get that running off the solar. And they get all the rest of the animals moved over here and get everything stabilized, and then we're going to have us a little ceremony and party for all the amazing, beautiful people that have come to share in this and learn from it. And I think realize, each one of them gets to realize that you can do this. You can go, you don't need to go buy a pre-finished home that's all super fancy and has, I mean, those things are nice, all the luxuries are nice, but the things that we're trading for it are insane. And you can go live rough for a while and build up, and when you do that, you find so much more joy in life. You know, there was when you went and bought that new house, that new car, that new thing that you slid the credit and you owned it, just like a little kid. You're like, oh, this house is great, and then 3 days later you're sick of it and you don't even care, and you proceed to trash it. You don't put the love, you don't put the symbiosis in it, you didn't earn it. And so we're just going to keep building that up, and I think that everybody that's here gets to carry that home with them and share that this is real similar to that M. Night Shyamalan movie where they lived in that village and they were so scared to go out in the woods and there really wasn't anything in the woods. Well, they've taught you that civilization is the only way to live, that all day part of where Snake got the apples, when we're going around, there's like the abandoned firehouse down the road. There's apples laying around on the ground, and you see it on people's trees in town, and there's no food around. Christie, literally at the laundromat, the abandoned place behind there, apples just everywhere, and a beggar comes up and says, "Can I have some money for food?" And Christie goes, there's a whole bunch of apples in back.
I just ate one.
Yeah, and we're eating them, and no, it rolled on to, mad. We're trying to build this whole thing and just get away from all that and trying to give that to other people, what we have here, and that everybody's so wholeheartedly jumped into. It's amazing, and we're gonna get this up and running. We'll have a nice functional farm, and everybody that is here, such as Jared here and Kristen, who came at one point, and they're gonna get to come back and see all the progress that was made. And then there's some that are gonna see it from start to finish and say, like Michael, he seems very talented and very capable, and he's like, well, why couldn't I go do this? I sure could. I just helped do it. And that's the entire idea here, is that we get this up and functional, and then hopefully that is being part of the spark that lights that for the rest of the world. That everybody goes, I don't really need to be scared. I don't need the civilization. I can go out and live and start living an actual beautiful life. Going to the store and buying mushed up huckleberries in a jam is not better than me going out and picking these huckleberries off here and mushing them up and smearing them on some toast. It is not better. Like, just because it's approved by this little committee and you paid a whole bunch more money and all this, that doesn't make it better. And you start realizing that and giving that back to the world. There's just no better thing I can think of.
Yeah, I hope people feel like this is doable. And I hope that they also realize perfection isn't going to happen. Forgive yourself ahead of time for failures, because they will come. You will mess up. You're going to mess up. It's life. Learn from it and enjoy it, and remember it's going to be a good story later. And just enjoy the ride. When you're doing this, you actually get to enjoy the ride of life. And I didn't get to do that before. And this has given me the freedom to actually live my life and not have to dedicate hours and hours and hours to the benefit of other people who are really the ones benefiting from my time. I'm trading the time in the hourglass of my life for a little of this stuff so that I can have fancy things when I'm just as happy in this very, very simple cabin with the man that I absolutely adore. And I don't need anything else than that. Got what I need.
Yeah, this has just been a beautiful experience, and I can't thank everybody that's come enough. And I said, I realize there are some people that are pretty disappointed that it didn't turn into the giant festival type thing, but I don't think with the festival thing it could have been this, and this is what I was always about. And everybody that's here is my friend, and I've got a whole bunch of friends, and I'd rather have a nice handful of friends that I can sit around a fire, sit around a porch and laugh and have a good time with, than have a couple hundred acquaintances that we showed up at the same event. That's just a fact. And yeah, I'm just glad to share it.
Me too. If you're curious, reach out to us on Facebook. Where should they find us?
Yeah, Snake Jones 09. Aaron pretty much has been running that part of it. He's got a motorcycle. Unfortunately, the last time I was on a motorcycle, I flew into a tree at 55 miles an hour airborne. I was not on the motorcycle when I hit the tree, so I mean, there is that. So I mean, but so I tend not to ride bikes too much anymore. Too much bionic parts in me already. But Aaron gets out and does that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just want everybody to know that you are a competent, capable person, that your ancestors, your root, because that's what this is all about. This entire thing, getting in touch with the land, getting in touch with the people, with the animals, with the plants, building a home where you have a good stability. That's the thing that your ancestors did. You come from people that just walked out to a piece of land no other person had been on and said, I'm gonna live here. Bam, this is mine. I'm gonna feed my family off this land. I'm gonna thrive off this land. Generations are gonna do this. This is what you were born of. This land, your people have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, long before the land was as tame as it is now. Back when the land was covered with beasts and dangers and you didn't have roads crisscrossing it. So why are you afraid now? Are we some kind of a lesser people? Supposedly everybody now is supposed to be more advanced and more civilized and everything, but you can't accomplish something that 200 years ago your ancestors were walking out to pieces of land that nobody had ever settled on and saying, I'm just gonna live here. We can all do it. We can all do that. We don't need to have the prima donna life that we're going to pay for until we die. We can all actually just go back to having the joy, having the simple things, and just enjoying life. Because if you aren't enjoying it, what the hell's the point?
I don't think I have anything to add to that.
Mm-hmm. People wouldn't have to go on camping trips if they knew how to live.
Right.
You bet.
That's so true.
I'm going to take 2 days a year to have an enjoyable part, so that way my life that I just spent the entire year about apparently not enjoying, I'd rather just, it's like the story of the fisherman, that the businessman walked up and found a fisherman laying on the beach, just laying there with his boat floating in the water. And he says, what are you doing? And he said, laying here. He said, well, why aren't you out doing this? And you could catch some more fish. And then you could come back in and sell some more extra fish. And then you could end up buying more nets. And you could catch more fish and come back in. And you could end up buying more boats until you have a fleet. And you're catching all the most fish. And you're the biggest fisherman in the area. And then the fisherman looks up and says, why would I do that? He says, so you could start enjoying life. And the fisherman looks at him and says, what do you think I'm doing now? It's just that simple. And at the end of the day, we're all happy. Everybody's having a good time here.
Yep. Thank you. On behalf of everyone here, thank you all. Thank you for having us, for letting us participate in this.
Thank you, and I look forward to meeting people's families at the end of this and
Yes.
thanking them for letting us have you, because this experience wouldn't be the same if it was just us. It really wouldn't. You know, I hope that people take away skills and knowledge, but I hope they also take away this fellowship and the knowledge that they're not alone out there. They're not the only ones.
Who says I'm going anywhere?
I didn't say you were.
I did.
I didn't
You
say
might
you
have
were.
to kick a couple of us out. This is
Well,
great.
You know, my boots.
The lab's coming. The greenhouses may go, or not. You guys are gonna seed
Chicken
the land.
coops.
You're gonna do it properly, though.
Right?
You betcha.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to learn about permaculture and
Yep.
hugelculture
beds.
and
Yes.
You betcha.
I want to come
No
back and
till
see that.
soil.
you betcha.
Yep. Making all kinds of good stuff.